Shall we begin? Let's get started.
Hey, Mom, can I have $20?
I gave you $20 yesterday. Futures Academy in Victoria is a different kind of school. We use the individually designed educational achievement plan to build a program for your child based on their needs, strengths, and struggles. If your child has had trouble in public school, perhaps developed anxiety or fallen behind in grade levels and achievement, give us a call. Our number is 361-433-0322. You can also check us out on the web at futuresacademyvic.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
Would you stop that?
Did you just smack me?
Well, stop fiddling with that thing.
Okay. Since that's the start of the episode, Mom, you're going to get a lesson today. Not really you, but maybe some people that are about your age, maybe a little older, that parented different than I am.
Okay, look, I've raised 3 children. I really don't need any parenting lessons. I mean, I guess it could be debated, but I think y'all all turned out okay. None of you were in jail or any of that kind of stuff. Like, you've met all the minimum goals for what a parent wants.
That's not what you were saying about Sheridan and Dakota earlier at all.
Okay, apparently I didn't teach you to keep your mouth shut.
No. But the way that I parent, and maybe people my age or younger, I'm 28, do things is maybe a little bit controversial.
That's true. There is a big movement right now in what they call gentle parenting. And the people who do it say it's just called parenting. It's like, by definition, parenting should be gentle. There was a move away from the cry it out philosophy. We were coming away from that at the time that I was having kids. And so I literally remember the doctor who saw you in the hospital say, or maybe it was even a follow-up, but I remember very early saying, let her cry for a couple of minutes, let her hear her voice, and then tend to her. You know, like, it was obviously crying is healthy, or babies wouldn't be able to do it. Like, it's relevant to your growth. But prior to that, it was just let them cry it out. They have to learn to, they probably didn't use the word self-soothe at the time, but just cry it out. And I can't imagine that. I thought that was barbaric, in the same way that you probably think a lot of my ways were barbaric.
Well, I definitely think that was barbaric. And you and I have joked about some things about that same time, like baby patios, you know, that were just, the car seats, you know.
Yes.
There's a whole lot with that time that now we are like, oh my gosh, y'all
Right.
wanted your babies to not be there because what were you doing?
I don't think that's true at all. I think that we didn't have the knowledge and research and things like that. Certainly not as readily available to us. And you know that the product manufacturers are not going to volunteer to do anything bigger and better unless consumers demand it. And if we didn't know, we weren't demanding it. So
Absolutely.
that's our special guest, River, today. We might get to see some examples of gentle parenting. As you hear her screaming because it's way past bedtime and she's still awake. But we're going to have some fun talking about the differences in parenting today and comparing. We'll be back with you in just a minute. Let's take a break.
One of today's sponsors is a local business in my new community in the Central Texas area. Her name is Leslie Valadares. She's a solo practice lawyer who specializes in a variety of legal services, including family law, criminal law, business law, and estate planning, just to name a few. Since she is a solo practice lawyer, the best way to reach her is by text at 254-760-0879, or you can email her at leslie@lvlaw.us. Reach out to her and see if she can help you. All right, thanks for staying with us. So I do want to say before we get started, Mom, and to, everyone, so you're going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, I kind of am, because you and I have had this conversation a lot. I've had this conversation a lot with Sheridan, too. We joke that Sheridan's a free-range parent because she is much more exploratory and things like that. We'll talk about it. But, I won't say I'm well-versed, but I have accepted that my ways are antiquated and it's time to come around. So yeah, I'm going to play devil's advocate, kind of representing what my generation believes and what we experienced. And so know that I'm not giving advice here. This is literally just a conversation for the purpose of being able to see both sides of this.
Absolutely. And we're not professionals or anything like that. This is literally just, you've raised 3 kids. I'm working on 1 in the year 2024. So
here we go.
Okay, so the common misconception about gentle parenting is that it's permissive.
I think part of the reason that we see it as permissive is because we would have given a no much more quickly than you would. You and I have this, we had an experience the other day when you and River were here and we had the new little rocking chair and she wasn't sitting in it. And it's new and she was standing and wanting to climb over the back and everything else. And you told her no 2 or 3 times and you told her that if you don't sit down, we have to take it away. And so the next time she stood up, you went to remind her of that and sit her down again. I got up and took the chair away.
Yes. And see, I probably should have gotten up and taken the chair away then too. But at her age right now, she doesn't understand that follow through. She doesn't understand that cause and effect. She also has no impulse control. So I'm practicing it as much as I can with what she understands too. The thing is, I also do set those boundaries because I was going to show her to sit down. And if she stood up again, we're taking it away. Remember, I told you to sit down? Okay, taking it away. And the thing about it is you have to be strict with those boundaries and discipline, but also empathetic, compassionate, because what you want is to not shame them for doing those things. They're not trying to be bad. It's mostly developmentally appropriate behavior almost every time. And I think that's the line of it.
One break there, you said kind of at the beginning of that, is she doesn't understand that follow through. Well, no, but when you do it several times, she will. That's where we came from, that no, of course she doesn't. She's 2. She doesn't understand very much cause and effect of anything. But when it happens 2 or 3 times and she realizes that when mom says she's going to take the chair away, she's actually going to take the chair away. And I sucked at boundaries. I am terrible at the follow through. I could lay boundaries all day long. I can create systems all day long, and I really have a hard time following up. And that's still a fault with me to this day. So it does take someone who can follow through whichever method you take. But that doesn't seem so barbaric for me to have said, nope, that's it. And if she cries or whatever, well, you can just be unhappy because you brought this on yourself, which is probably not the approach you would have taken. No. She didn't throw a fit, but if she had...
No, I wouldn't have just let her cry, because the part of gentle parenting that's so important is the teaching and guiding versus punishing. And I don't want her to feel bad because I took the chair away. That wasn't the intention. And so my approach would probably be...
What was the intention? What was the intention?
Well, I wanted her to be safe. That's why she has to sit down in the chair. And so, especially at this age, it's hard. But I would probably tell her we have to sit in chairs. And when we don't sit in chairs, then we have to sit on the floor because you can't sit in a chair and be safe. You know, those are the things that I would say at her age. And probably say that for a couple years until she is at the point where she can understand that, which is going to be a lot sooner than a couple years. But
this sounds like an awful lot of repetition.
It is a lot. And that's another thing that I would say a lot of people don't like about the gentle parenting style, is that it is time consuming. But the benefit of that is a healthy family dynamic, a child that can regulate their emotions. You don't have a 16-year-old throwing tantrums.
Well, I had a 16-year-old throwing tantrums. I had 3 of them.
Well, what does that tell you about your parenting?
Okay, so I said that I would have just told her, I'm sorry you're unhappy, but that's what we have to do. I had to put the chair up. And that you would have comforted her, because I'm genuinely sorry and I feel bad for you and want to comfort you that you've lost your chair. And you said, I don't want her to be unhappy. I kind of do want her to be unhappy. I want her to feel the displeasure of no, don't take my chair. I'm so sad. I was having fun in my chair and I don't like this at all. I want her to experience that, because if what actually happens is mom sits on the floor and hugs me for 5 minutes and distracts me and plays with me, I'm never sitting down in a chair again.
Okay, that's not it. Okay, maybe I misspoke, because it's not that I don't want her to be unhappy. That's not it. And it's not that I need to comfort her. It's, first of all, she's having a big feeling when I take this chair away. And
True.
So at this age, I do need to comfort her. I do need to teach her how to walk through that emotion. And like I said, she's 2 now, but eventually I'm going to have a child that can be upset without throwing things and screaming and throwing a fit in the grocery store and things like that. That's my goal. And so let's walk through that emotion and that tantrum for you losing that chair, but also let's try to talk about why that was the consequence, so that next time you're going to sit in your chair because you don't want it to be taken away. And I mean, yeah, that's a yucky feeling. And that's the thing, though, is we want to learn how to deal with those yucky feelings, to also prevent other tantrums. Because like I said, in the things like in the grocery store, when you can't have that toy, now you'll know how to regulate that emotion, calm down enough so that you can say, okay, when we get home, we're going to play with the new sidewalk chalk that you got, or whatever it is that your child is wanting. Now they know how to deal with those emotions of being told no or whatever, because nobody likes to be told no. That's the most common one, is being told no about things or having things taken away.
Does it seem that my generation was cold in that, where I would have just taken it away and put it on the shelf and said, I'm sorry, figure out something else to do?
I don't think cold, but I think it was probably just easier. And I don't think, and like we said before, with other, even older generations, the cry it out generation, you did the best with what you knew at the time. You didn't have as much information available. There wasn't all these studies and TV shows and videos and links and TikToks and
there were
whatever.
Studies, there were books, there were professional, parenting experts and things that did that we respected at the time. The What to Expect the First Year series of books. There were maybe it was a thing all the time, I don't know, but there was a lot of Christian authors like Dr. James Dobson who were putting out, parenting stuff. Spock, whatever his name was, there had been a lot who put those things out, who had done studies and, shown that strict boundaries and repetition and things like that were what worked. And so I don't need to sit here and go through those emotions with you. You're going to figure it out on your own eventually, because the 4th time I have to take the chair away, you're going to grow whether I sit here and explain it to you or not, because she's 2. She understands that standing up equals no chair.
It's so much more in depth than that, though. And the fact that you had 3 screaming teenagers proves that.
Hey, I had great gentle parents, and I was a screaming teenager too. I don't think it's preventable.
Okay, I think your husband had a lot to do with that. Because I hear that you were perfect until you were 16.
That's 100% the gospel truth.
The thing is, it is very time consuming. It's a lot of patience. And sometimes, I've said before that there are times when she's throwing a fit and she smacks me in the face, and I've reacted quickly and was not patient and smacked her hand and felt bad for it, because that's the vow I've made to myself, is that I'm not going to spank my child. Choose to do whatever you want to do. I'm not saying anyone's a bad parent or anything, but that's what I've chosen to do. And I know that was a moment of me just not being patient. I mean, she's a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum because she has to go to bed or whatever it is. The thing is, I'm an adult and I can regulate my emotions, so it's my job to be that safe space for her to learn to do that. Because, yeah, she'll learn to do it, but she may not learn to do it well or in a healthy way. And if we can do it from the beginning, mom can help you. And that also builds a relationship, too. That's another benefit, that building that early on, she knows that mom's always a safe place for those emotions. Obviously, we knew that you were, too. I think that came from you just talking to us a lot.
And choosing and making that intention, which is really what you're doing.
Yeah.
There was, I guess, a mini generation sort of between you and me that was the give everybody a trophy and make sure everybody feels good sort of parenting. And I think we look at you and see that. When everything is about making sure that you're okay with it and everything else. But you did make a clear distinction that is very important, which is to learn to manage it in a healthy way. We do all learn to cope.
Yeah.
We, as adults, we all learn to cope with our feelings. Now, for some of us, that might mean, throwing things and breaking windows and stuff like that. And for others, it might mean sitting down and having a pleasant conversation that is mature and where you discuss your feelings. And inevitably, those two people wind up together. But we all learn one way or another. But to do it in a healthy way that is a good coping skill that stays with you longer is a much more intentional act. And just letting you figure it out is not how it works.
And I also feel like, the world is getting scarier as the days go on. And right now she has no trauma ever. She's 2 years old. She has a perfect life. And eventually one day, whether I have any control over it or not, something will happen to her that is traumatic. And I want her to have those skills before something like that happens.
Yeah.
Because as you know, something traumatic happened to me in my teenage years. And learning to deal with my emotions for years after was very hard. The fact that these days I can identify my guilt or embarrassment or whatever at all is a miracle. It's crazy,
Right.
But, you've seen the work that took
Yes.
for years and years and years. And I'd like to prevent that if I can. Not that that's any doing of your own,
And to be clear for the listeners, we're not saying that this would ever prevent any kind of mental problems or anything like that. Remember, we're not doctors, we're not professionals. We're just a couple of moms talking about our experiences. Let's take a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the rest of your notes.
Yeah, River needs a snack.
Hey, this is Stephanie. You already know that I am the owner and director of Futures Academy here in Victoria, Texas. We serve grades 5 through 12, and we are a different kind of school for kids who have not found success elsewhere. Or maybe you've been homeschooled or met up with some difficult times in public school, and mom and dad just need a little extra help for a while. Give us a call. Our number is 361-433-0322, and we will let you know how we can help.
Okay, and we're back. So let's get back to some of the notes that I had written. Some of the myths that we've been talking about as far as gentle parenting is that it lacks discipline and that your kids will be spoiled. What do you think about that?
You were spoiled.
I think I'm still spoiled.
Well, there goes your theory.
And now I've made my husband spoil me and my mother-in-law spoil me.
Next topic. No.
This one's a little hard for me because I think that River's a little spoiled.
River's also an only child. She's the first child.
Yeah.
And you have the ability to do it.
Yeah. She's never played with any other kids, so lately we've been working on your turn, my turn. Because I was tired of my chalk getting snatched out of my hand. The reality...
You're bigger than her. That's what my generation would say.
See, I don't want that. The thing is, I don't want to be an authoritative figure. I do in a sense that, I am mom, I am in charge when you need to listen to me for safety, if anything,
Yeah.
But not listen to me because I said so, but because if you don't, there's a natural consequence, like getting smushed like a pancake, as you used to tell me.
Yes.
If you don't look before you cross the road or get back when I say car or whatever.
You walk on left side, squish like grape. Walk on right side, squish like grape. Walk in middle, safe. Yep. And so I would say you squish like a pancake.
Yeah.
You didn't know what y'all, I guess, didn't know what a grape squish would look like. So.
But the reality is that gentle parenting uses techniques like natural consequences, like I just said. Part of the reason why I wouldn't let River stand in the chair the other day, because the natural consequence is she's going to fall and bust her head open.
Right.
And unfortunately, I can't just let that natural consequence go, But there are times when...
See? Y'all are such wusses.
But there are things like when she keeps throwing her food off her high chair. Okay, well, it's all gone and now you're done eating. That tells me you're all done. The dog ate it. You hold your hand out. The dog eats your cracker. That's the natural consequence. And what punishment do you need? That's a very simple one. But natural consequences is what I try to think of the most. And especially when I think of punishment, which I don't like the word punishment, but when I think of disciplining her, I'm trying to think what is going to be the real world natural consequence. When you get a little bit older, things like forgetting my charger when I have to work after school. The natural consequence is my phone dies and I can't text my friends. That's, that should have been the natural consequence. You brought it to me anyways, though.
But I stood my ground on the prom. Ooh, and you never did that again that I know of.
That you know of. You're blocked. You've been blocked for 10 years.
We'll tell that story another time. So to me, being spoiled would be, how many crackers you going to let her feed to the dog before you quit giving her crackers?
Oh.
And I guess I'm asking how what you do would be seen as spoiling. Because that's exactly the consequence that I would want to give is, sorry, you don't have any more crackers.
Well, I think in my sense, for something like that, I'm obviously telling her, no, we're communicating. Once I realize that she knows I'm telling her not to do that and she's doing it anyways with obviously her impulse control is like 2% at this age,
Right.
And so with me knowing that, okay, it's time for me to take the crackers away because you're going to keep doing it whether I'm telling you to or not. If I spanked you, you'd probably keep doing it because you have no impulse control. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In that situation. But I think the reason I think she's kind of spoiled is because if we're doing something like, you saw me earlier, she wanted the crayons out. And I kept giving her one crayon, but that wasn't enough. What she wanted was a whole box. But I made sure to tell her, we're going to get the whole box out, but then we're done with this drawer. We're done with this drawer. We're not getting in here anymore. This is what you wanted. And so I did give her what she wanted. I did give in because guess what? She's going to be her own person one day, and I'm not always, eventually she needs to have that authority for herself. And so I think it's kind of okay to tell them yes all the time. I kind of have a rule.
It is not okay to say yes all the time because how will they ever learn to cope with no?
Okay, but that's the thing is when she is told no and has a big fit, we do cope. I also kind of have a rule that I don't really tell her no unless she's in danger. Like if that's like really the big thing. Right. Obviously, I don't let her play in the kitchen cabinets. I'm not letting her drop a toaster on her foot and chemicals under the sink, whatever. And none of that. She's obviously safe. But me being inconvenienced because I don't want to go play outside right now is not enough of a reason for me to tell her no or for me to come inside because I'm done playing with the chalk.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's not, though. It's good for her development.
I believe doing those things is good for her development, but you're also a grown-up, and when I say we're done because I am the grown-up, and she has to respect you on that level unequivocally because there will be times when you say you absolutely cannot do that and it is for your safety or whatever, and she's got to respect that for no other reason than because you said so, not because I understand, not because it looks reasonable, not because I feel good about it, but mom said no and we'll figure it out what the problem was later or whatever. But that hard line that comes because I'm the mom is what it seems like y'all are missing.
Because I don't think that that's enough of a reason. Because she is a person, she deserves an explanation. Even if she's a child, she is still a person who has thoughts and emotions. And those thoughts and emotions are, her brain's developing every day, even into her teen years. And so I do think that a part of knowing why mom said no is a part of the development too. And I think there's times when she's going to learn that, stay out, we'll have a safe word for the car's coming, you need to get out of the street, come on, whatever. Mm-hmm. To listen to me because you may be in danger. Those are things that I plan to teach.
So I think that was one thing on your list was how to deal with urgent situations.
Oh, that was my next. Okay. A common myth is that gentle parenting is ineffective for managing bad behavior, or that it doesn't work for kids with very challenging behavior or emergent or high stress situations. And tell me what you think about
that. The movement at the time, we must have really been a yelling generation. And I know I was. My biggest fault as a parent was and still is yelling.
I'm a yeller too because of that though.
I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say even as a teacher I yell sometimes, but usually I do that in fun when I really need to get their attention. But I would yell at you guys when I'd had enough.
Uh-huh.
It's funny, I even advised Sheridan yesterday to go in there and scream at them and get them moving. Because it would have been so out of character for her. It would have startled them into motion.
Yeah.
But the movement at the time was telling us you can't yell about everything. Because...
Okay, well, you did.
No, you were a toddler.
Okay.
You didn't make me that angry, I don't think, until you were much older.
Hold on. Do you remember me asking you? You were big pregnant with Dakota.
Oh,
and
no.
I'd asked you a million times what his name was going to be. I couldn't remember for the life of me.
I don't remember this, but you have told me this story.
And I kept saying, what's his name going to be? And you said, his name is Dakota. And I remember being like, sheesh, you didn't have to yell.
Do you get it now?
Well, let me tell you, I don't think I forgot again.
I love that that's one of your oldest memories. Wow.
Wow, now that I think about it, that's even before he was born. That's crazy.
I know. So you were less than 4.5.
Yeah.
Gosh. No, less than 4.
Less than 4, I would have. That was probably.
We all 23 and 24.
He was born in February, and you were big pregnant, so it probably was January that year. So
yeah, so
3 and
you
a
were
half.
3.5.
Wow.
Well, weren't you precocious?
Well, I don't have long before River has memories. I need to straighten up.
It's important to recognize that we do all make mistakes. I also want to interject here just for a minute to say that we are not advocating spanking or the hand swatting or anything else. We just know that it's part of the conversation, and so we've included it here. We're not advocating that. Cheyenne is a huge advocate of gentle parenting, and while I don't push it the way she does, I do respect her boundaries, and I think that anyone who deals with someone else's children should.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, everyone parents different, and I mean, I'm not judging anyone at all. Do what you need to do for your children, what you think is best. And that's the big thing, is that we're all really just doing the best with what we know, you know, in the time that we live. That's also a big part of it too. You know, times are different than they were when grandmother was raising you and when you were raising us.
Exactly, which is the whole point of why we have these conversations, is because it does change over time. And your kids will do something else and also look at you and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that that's what y'all did with us. Every generation has done it to the generation before.
Yeah.
You asked about the urgency, back to that, so we're back on track.
Yeah.
However you parent, an urgent situation needs to seem urgent. Whether that means that the only time we shout is if the house is on fire. And it is okay, just so you know, to shout when the house is on fire.
Yeah.
But if everybody knows, oh my gosh, mom's yelling, something terrible is happening, as opposed to, I can't remember if it was you or your sister that posted the meme one day that said, y'all pray for my mom. Ain't nothing wrong with her. She just always be yelling.
Yeah, and you know, I'm sure the one that said, I used to think my mom was always mad. Now look at me, always mad, Junior.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, I'm a yeller too, and I try not to be. But the high emergent, you know, situations, high stress situations. The thing about gentle parenting is that, let's say, for instance, River's throwing a fit in the grocery store because she can't have a toy or something that she wants. We've got to get out of the store. We're in a rush to go somewhere, whatever it is. We don't have time to really sit and deal with this fit. In that situation, I'm definitely getting out of the store as fast as I can to get to the car and deal with this situation in the moment.
On behalf of all Gen X, thank you.
Well, I know everybody's looking at me. I'm annoyed my baby's crying. I know y'all are too. Like,
right.
Believe me, it's not convenient for me that this is happening. But the thing is about gentle parenting is that you want to deal with the root problem. And the root problem is that she's being told no and dealing with a big emotion.
Yeah.
Of being told no. And as an adult, I don't like being told no. And as an adult, if someone told me because I said so, I got some words for you. So I can understand how that feels to a person who is so small and probably feels like they have no say in the world. And here is my adult telling me I also have no say in the world. That's not a great feeling.
And I'm sitting here thinking, you're 2. You don't have any say in the world.
But you're going to one day, and we need to instill that in you now.
Well, you're awfully opinionated for somebody who wasn't coddled.
I think I was the most coddled of your children. That's how I know you love me the most.
Which brings us to, I think, the last point, which was gentle parenting and children who, for whatever reason, are difficult. So whether they have a developmental challenge or a personality that's just conflicting with yours, or any other issue where there's something other than the perfect, easy child that you read about in the books.
Yeah. Which I have one of those, actually.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm making a lot of jokes, but she's been a very easy baby, and these are all still very challenging for me, even. So
Yes.
I can't imagine a mom who's really going through some behavior issues.
Right.
You know, that's some struggles there.
I think it's safe to say that as much as that mom can be gentle, it benefits her to be able to stay calm herself. And this is true with all of you. And also dads. We've said mom because we're moms, but this applies to any dads that are parenting too.
I know, and I'm trying. I mean, now Cade's. I mean, he comes from a house. He says that his mom yells, but I could never see it. But he kind of gets loud sometimes, and I'm like, "Hey, she's a baby," and he's like, "I'm sorry, I was just trying to get her attention or whatever," and I'm like, "You don't have to yell, you know." He's like, sorry, I'm just being dad, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I also think that some of these strategies can prevent some things like that. If we're getting to the root cause and dealing with these emotions, then maybe we don't have as many of those public outbursts.
Right.
So let's talk about some strategies, too, that are...
I'll tell you one strategy is if she takes those business cards and dumps them on the floor again, I'm spanking you.
If she gets on this counter again, I'm going to spank you. You told her it was okay.
So the first strategy is to set boundaries.
The first strategy is to take a step back. No, but I would say that that's a good one, is taking some time to work on some patience.
Yes.
I love you with all my heart, but you were not very patient. You're still not very patient. And honestly, I think the more you teach high school, the shorter it gets.
Have you talked to a teenager lately?
I've seen the last few graduating classes, and
actually, probably the fact that I deal with teenagers most, and I have always wanted to teach teenagers, was because I can communicate with them
the most. Yeah,
literally, I can have a conversation with you. I cannot have a conversation with River. I cannot explain to her that we cannot go outside now because it's 4 a.m. and you're supposed to be asleep and I need you to lay down. Like, that just doesn't register the same.
For the record, I'm not doing that either. She is not going outside at 4 a.m. I will, however, turn on the TV and go back to sleep, but...
I agree that I've never been incredibly patient with the younger ones, which is why I didn't choose a career in those.
No, definitely. And, I mean, it is what it is. But I think as far as the fact that it's time-consuming, it is a lot of work. This is going to be a lot of work for me raising her. A lot of inner growth and self-reflection and wondering, why did that piss me off so bad? What did that stir up deep inside me that really shouldn't have been a big deal? Because the fact is, I am a grown-up. You're a child, and I should be able to manage you.
Yeah.
In a healthy way as well. Another strategy I would say is seeing things from your child's perspective. And I kind of mentioned that earlier, that nobody likes to be told no. A 2-year-old definitely doesn't like to be told no, or whatever it is. They don't want to stop playing, whatever the situation is. I try to see it from her perspective as much as I can.
One example of that you mentioned in another episode was when she has a meltdown about having to put her toys up. Mm-hmm. Because you're going, good grief, it's just toys. You can get them out later this afternoon. But for her...
You need help?
Okay, we had a pause there because River needed help. She was stuck getting down from the chair. And so, maybe this is just my sarcasm, but my personality would have been to get her out and go, see, I told you not to get in the chair. And that is definitely not what you did.
No. Okay, back to what we were saying. We had said in a previous episode that
in a previous episode that you talked about her having a meltdown when she had to put her toys up. But from her perspective, this is ginormous. Mm-hmm. My whole world revolves around the toys that are scattered all over the living room, and you're taking it away.
Yeah.
So to see that from her perspective is very valuable. I mean, that alone should change your behavior from anger or frustration or...
And that's very much what I try to do so that I'm not so frustrated. I also try to tell myself this common phrase that she's not being bad, she's not giving me a hard time, she's having a hard time.
Yes.
And I try to just remember that because I can't imagine all these big emotions being told no all day long by the person you love more than anybody in the world.
Yes.
You know? And then add in the fact that now she's starting to understand when I say, okay, we have to put things up and go take a nap. I have to put up my toys and I got to go to sleep? Absolutely not. So I can understand that. But another strategy that I think really helps is talking about emotions. And I try to do that with River a lot. We always say what we're feeling, oh, yay, I'm so happy, or Mom is sad, Mom doesn't feel good. We try to talk about those a lot. So we say things, not really emotions, but hungry, thirsty, those are even some of them, how are you feeling? We're listening to our bodies, things like that. So that those are already words in her vocabulary. She's 2 and she's just now starting to talk a lot. And so let's get those words in her vocabulary now so that I can say what's wrong and she can say I'm hurt, I'm sad, whatever it is.
Yeah. And sometimes, and she does. I think from the older perspective, we feel like that stuff comes when it's time.
Sorry, she's just yapping away back there.
Is that those things come when it's time regardless, and we feel like you guys do so many things that are overkill, I guess. Just let them be kids and we don't have to deal with everything all of the time, And we did it too in our own way. It's a misconception of your generation that we were cold or unfeeling or distant or trying to take the easy way out. We were working moms too. We were doing the best that we could, and it was not the easy way out to say, I'm sorry, you're just going to have to feel bad because I took that toy away from you. That was gut-wrenching on our part too, even if you felt like it was the best thing. And, not that I wouldn't have hugged you when you came to me, but yeah. I'm not going to punish you immediately. That seems sadistic or something to me I'm taking your toy away, but come here and let me love you. Like, what is wrong with that?
Okay, well, it's also, we don't punish. That's the thing, too. Don't forget that.
That's a consequence. I get it.
Yes.
I'm sorry the consequences were unpleasant.
Yes. Some of the benefits of gentle parenting, though, is a strong parent-child relationship. And I kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier, that now that she's 2 years old and she already knows that Mom is going to help me work through my big emotions, in a couple years when she's having big emotions about school, in her teen years, she'll come to me. This foundation started so soon that's laid out, and I think a lot of people miss that. I think the reason you had that is because, like I said, or like you said before, that you intentionally did that. And also you talked to us a lot, forced that relationship, kind of.
You're going to have a talk with me whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's what we've told our audience today because we've really run over on time, but this is certainly a very valuable topic that we will revisit multiple times, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying with us today. I hope you found it interesting. Go talk to your mom and ask her what was different about raising you than how she was raised. And then look at your children and say the same thing. It's always really cool to look back. I mean, my grandmother had some really wild ideas, So if you've never asked those questions, go do it. It's worth having that conversation about, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Y'all can find us everywhere that you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and you can listen, or you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere. We're online at 20buckspod.com. Check us out. Oh, Mom, before I put River to bed, I'm going to go to the store and get some snacks. Can I have $20?
Have you not heard anything I said during this whole episode?
I know, but you just admitted to everyone that I'm spoiled. So come on, fork it up.
I'm going to bed.